Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the digital dialogue session. I'm Justin Turner. I'm the Managing Director of Carrot Media, and I'm going to be the chair for this afternoon. We've got some fantastic speakers who are going to give a short 9-minute presentation, I think it is, on various aspects of digital marketing, possibly some insight into where the market's going to go. I'll possibly ask them a question as we're going along, and then afterwards we'll open the floor up to have a debate. If you could the questions come through me, and I'll try and put them to the panel as I think is appropriate. I don't know whether one of you wants to start in particular.
I've been volunteered, unfortunately.
Okay, right, very well.
Who here has a personal blog? If you put your hands up. Couple. Who's got a corporate blog for their company? How many people in the room use Facebook? Quite a lot. How many people use Twitter? Anyone heard of Twitter? All right, that's doing well. Social media. People are talking. People are connecting. They're building tight communities amongst an interest that they might have. They might be building communities around your organisation or around your product or your brand, and they've got influence and reach. And that's what social media is all about. That's what the social networks is all about. It's about engaging in a conversation. I'm looking at this from the perspective of a public relations professional and a media professional. But we use social media all the time now for our clients. And try and understand what the consumers are talking about our clients, what they like about them and what they don't like about them. And it all starts with Google. People always talk about Google being a search engine. Google shouldn't be a search engine. Google should be your corporate homepage. Google's not a search engine. It's a reputation management system. Now, we test this ourselves because the nature of my company, we have our corporate website, we have a corporate blog, and several of our staff have their own personal blogs as well. I've got my own personal blog. It's very interesting when you do a search on green communications or public relations and leads, where my company's based, or just put my name into a search engine, into Google. We normally come up on the top 3 searches every time. I was in Las Vegas in December last year, and I met the chap who set up WordPress. For those of you who don't know, WordPress is one of the biggest blogging platforms in the world. And he gave me his business card, and all it said was Matt Zuckerberg. It didn't have an address or anything. It just said, tap Matt into Google and see, and that was it. That was his business card. So you tap Matt into Google and he comes up at the top search. The reason he can do that is because I'm sure there's a piece of code behind every WordPress blog out there with his name in it. So the social media's out there. How do you use it, and what are the good case studies and what are the bad case studies? And I'm going to start with some bad case studies on probably some of the biggest brands in the world. The first one was Dell. There's an A-list celebrity blogger in the States who's actually a professor at the New York School of Journalism called Jeff Jarvis. And he ordered a Dell computer about 3 years ago, in which he said the service was basically. Now, he had a lot of people following his blog, and they pretty much all agreed with what he was saying about Dell as well, until what happened, what was known in the parlance of the blogosphere, is Dell was hit by a shitstorm, with everyone decrying the brand, pulling the brand down, all sorts of things were being said about it, and Dell was just caught in the headlights. It didn't know how to react. It didn't engage in the conversation. It didn't engage in the conversation, which is what social media is all about. And Jeff wrote on his blog, he said, I'm just a citizen, a consumer, a guy who has his own printing press, my weblog. In June, I used it to whine about the lemon of a computer Dell sold me and the customer service I didn't get. Throughout that period, Dell have completely changed their reaction to the blogosphere. Blogs, social networking is now at the core of their business, which the next slide will show. And it's interesting, a couple of years later, I bought a Dell computer myself, My customer experience was fantastic. They emailed me to tell me when it was going to arrive. They emailed me when the parts had arrived and so on. But that consumer experience was so good, I wrote about it on my blog, went to bed. Next day I got up. An employee of Dell had been to my blog and left a comment thanking me for the excellent feedback. Now that's about them engaging with me as a consumer, but also now suddenly I'm a champion for their brand going forward. Another case study, you'll probably remember this from last year, was when HSBC decided it was going to mess with the National Union of Students. They wanted to start charging students a further 2% on the student grants and so on. Now, the young people particularly are very savvy with social media, and what those students did, I think they set up, it was something like 4 or 5 user groups on Facebook. A lot of people started blogging about it, to the point where HSBC did the decent thing and withdrew their plans for their plans to introduce this extra interest rate for students. And as you can see on the next slide, left school, no job, no money, and fuck off. Students are very clear about where they stand, but that was a very, from a marketing point of view, that's a very powerful message and something that a bank like HSBC has to take very seriously. A spokesman following that campaign, it's all marketing speak gobbledygook, but we're a service-oriented organisation and we have to listen to our customers. Of course you do. That is our priority for us. It's a good example of where a medium like Facebook has enabled customers to tell us something they really feel strongly about. And the National Union of Students, when that announcement was put out, they also put out their own press release. And there could be no doubt about the power of Facebook. We've had experiences ourselves with that with some of the social media campaigns that we've done. Another good example of how a blogger can affect a business, probably one of the most respected brands in the world is Apple. The iPhone, the iPod and everything. There's a very influential blogger in the States called Engadget, which you might have heard of. Now, they heard of a rumour that Apple was going to be at least 12 months late in launching the new iPhone. Okay, corporately, that's no big deal. It is if you're a company like Apple, because on the day that blog appeared, which was May 14, earlier this year, Apple shares went into freefall. $40 million was wiped off their stock until Engadget realised, A, legally they were in big trouble because they were putting out false rumours, and B, they were going to be damaging their own reputation as a blogger. And as a result, they retracted the story. And if you see on the next slide, you can see what happened to their share price in relation to what the bloggers were saying about them. So bloggers do have influence. How do you use that influence to manage your own brand? In case of the Dell story, I mentioned it earlier, but as I said, I blogged on my blog in terms of my view of this good service that I've got. And you'll see on the next slide what their reaction was to it. Hi Ian, thanks for saying something nice about us. I feel nice and cuddly about them, and as a result of that, I'm communicating through that word of mouth marketing with the people I talk to. Another good example of that was a good engagement with social media was the car phone warehouse. One chap was very unhappy about the level of service he was getting with car phone warehouse. He blogged about it. Goodbye, car phone warehouse. You lied and cheated. And the interesting thing about this was one of the marketing team in car phone warehouse was subscribing to this guy's Twitter feed. So she picked that up on her mobile on the weekend it appeared, quickly put it into action, where she engaged with the other people in her marketing team, where by Monday they'd sorted out all this guy's problems. And as you can see, his reaction to that, again, is very positive in terms of how they regained his trust as a brand and as a product. Another good use of social media one, also inadvertently